All right, let's talk about something that's, well, incredibly stressful. Dividing assets during a divorce, especially when your home is part of the deal. Before you can split anything, you have to know what it's worth. And that brings up a really critical question. Who's actually in charge of ordering the property appraisal? Let's break it down.
So if you and your spouse are going your separate ways, there's a good chance your home is the biggest asset you share. But to divide it fairly, you need a hard number, a real valuation. So how do you get that number? And maybe more importantly, who makes the call to bring in a pro?
Understanding who orders that appraisal is a bigger deal than you might think. That single decision can seriously impact the fairness, the cost, and just the overall stress level of your entire divorce. The person who makes that call really sets the stage for everything that follows.
And here's the thing. There's no simple one-size-fits-all answer. The way forward can be pretty straightforward, or it can get messy. It all really boils down to your specific situation and, honestly, how well you and your spouse are getting along. So let's explore the different ways this can play out, starting with the easiest one.
First up, we've got what I like to call the cooperative path. This is the ideal scenario where, even though you're separating, you both agree to work together to figure out what your property is worth.
Now, it might sound a little surprising, but a lot of couples do manage to collaborate on this step. In this case, it's pretty simple. Both of you just agree to hire one single, qualified, and totally neutral appraiser to come in and value the home. It's a joint decision, all about finding a number you can both trust. And the benefits of doing it this way? Oh, they're huge. For starters, you save a good chunk of change because you're only paying for one appraisal, not two. It also cuts way down on the potential for arguments over the property's value, which just makes the entire process go a whole lot smoother.
But, of course, not every separation is that friendly. So what happens when working together just isn't on the table, and the legal pros have to get involved?
This is usually when the lawyers step in. Your attorney might decide to order an appraisal as a strategic play, really, to build the strongest possible case for you. Their job is to get solid evidence for a fair split of the assets, and they'll handle getting that appraisal done.
Okay, so your lawyer gets an appraisal. Great. But what if the other side just completely rejects that number? When you reach a total dead end and just can't agree, there's another authority that can step in. And that authority is the court. When a couple just cannot see eye to eye, a judge can actually mandate an independent appraisal. This completely takes the decision out of your hands and puts it into the hands of a neutral professional that the court trusts.
And here's the key thing to get. A court-ordered appraisal is meant to be the final word. The whole point is to get an unbiased professional opinion that both you and your spouse have to accept as valid. It's designed to put an end to the back and forth over the property's value once and for all.
All right, now let's dive into the third path, and this one can get pretty complicated. This is the route you see in those really contentious divorces, where all the trust is just gone.
In these really high-conflict situations, it's pretty common for each person to go out and hire their own separate appraiser. Basically, neither side trusts the other to pick someone neutral, so they each bring in their own expert to come up with a number. And, as you can imagine, that gives you two completely separate opinions.
And this is where you get what's often called a battle of the experts. You end up with one valuation from your appraiser and a potentially very different valuation from theirs. Now you're stuck trying to compare two different numbers from two different professionals, each hired to represent one side. Which, of course, brings up the million-dollar question. What in the world do you do if those two numbers aren't even in the same ballpark? If one appraisal comes in tens of thousands of dollars different from the other, how do you move forward? Thankfully, there are a few standard ways to sort this out. You've got three main options. The simplest is you could just average the two numbers. Or you could bring in a neutral mediator to help you negotiate a compromise. And if that doesn't work, you can go back to the court and ask a judge to order a third, tie-breaking appraisal to settle it. Okay, so let's quickly pull all of this together. If you and your spouse order one together, that's the amicable path. It saves money and headaches. If your lawyer orders one, it's a strategic move to build a strong case. If a judge orders one, it's because you can't agree, and this provides a final unbiased number. And if you each get one separately, well, you're on the contentious path, and you'll have two different opinions you need to figure out how to resolve.
All right, we've walked through all these different scenarios. So what's the big takeaway here? What's the most important thing to keep in mind?
Here's the bottom line. No matter who makes the call, getting a professional, accurate appraisal is absolutely non-negotiable. Without a solid number to work from, you simply can't have a fair division of assets. It's the bedrock of the entire property settlement.
And that's why knowing all this is so important. When you understand these different options, cooperating, using legal strategy, or having the court step in, it gives you power. You're better prepared for what might come, you can talk more effectively with your lawyer, and you can just navigate this really tough process with a lot more confidence.
So, we'll leave you with this one final thought. We've talked all about the who behind a divorce appraisal. Now it's time for you to think about the what. Looking at your own situation, which one of these paths is going to best protect your assets and lead to the fairest outcome for you? Thanks for watching.